welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a dupe for an item that I thought I had missed out on. Now, it doesn't happen very often that I get upset or disappointed that I missed out on something. There's so much in the market, but there are a few things, and generally it happens with limited edition Christmas or holiday items that are coming out. And a couple of years ago, it was a Kat Von D metal matte palette. It was one of those things I was kicking myself over afterwards for not picking up. And then the other thing, I think it was from last year, was the Anastasia Beverly Hills Prism palette. Now, I did see that they are coming out with, for Black Friday, a special edition of a 4-pack with the Modern Renaissance, the Prism Subculture, and Soft Clam, I believe. And they have a really good deal on that. So had I not gotten what I have now, that might have been something I would have tried to get my hands on. I don't really want to invest that kind of money in the 4-pack that's coming out. I already have Modern Renaissance. There's so much controversy kind of surrounding the formula of the Subculture palette, and I already have a couple of dupes of it anyway, and the Soft Glam honestly didn't speak to me at all. So the only reason I would be spending that money would be to get that Prism palette, and it just doesn't seem worth it to me. But I was perusing the website AliExpress a few weeks ago. No, probably it would have been in September, late August, early September. I was perusing the website AliExpress. If you're not aware of what it is a vendor or store site similar to what eBay would be, with different sellers minus the auction. It just has the price and you pay it. Most of these things are coming from somewhere in Asia. The odd time something might ship from the States or from Europe, but for the most part it is Asia. So it does sometimes take a really long time to get things, but the site overall is really good at, if there's a problem with a seller or you didn't receive something or something's damaged, if you have a problem with an actual seller, the site AliExpress is really good at intervening and just moderating that. In every case, I've always gotten my money back, so it hasn't been an issue, and it hasn't happened that often. But again, it's a site that I kind of trust because they've been so good about refunding my money in those circumstances where things went missing or it was broken and that sort of thing. So AliExpress has a whole pile of stuff on there. You can get anything from like pictures and clothing to makeup to gadgets to pretty much anything you are looking for, you can find it there. They do have a lot of knockoffs of things where, let's say you were looking for the Prism palette, they would have a Prism palette on there and you would think maybe it was real, but it was a knockoff from a company that just took the packaging completely, the name of the company, and put whatever products in it that looked similar and called it the Prism palette. But then there's other things that you can find, which I refer to as dupes. And those are things that they have their own packaging, maybe a little bit similar, but they do have their own company name on it. They have their own ingredients in it. It's their own product. They may just have, for lack of a better word, ripped off a color story. I know a lot of people have issues with that and don't want to support anything like that. And if that's the case, we can respectfully agree to disagree. I just feel like it happens in everything, from our clothing down to our food and everything. There are dupes of things. I mean, pretty much all of us probably wouldn't be walking around with a lot of the clothes that we have on if it weren't for dupes, because most of us can't afford to shop the runways, Paris and New York and all those things that are kind of creating these looks that our fashion is stemming from and inspired by. So that's my little thing on dupes and knockoffs. I don't buy knockoffs, I buy the dupes. I try and find, and if I can't find something, then I just don't buy it. I will not buy a knockoff. I won't buy something that says it is an Anastasia product from AliExpress, because I know they do not sell on there, and it's pretty easy to tell. There are a few brands that sell off AliExpress and Amazon and eBay that I have found for makeup that are really good, and they do create quite a few dupes. The one that I have in particular would be by the brand UCanBe, and this would be the Rhythm palette. It is actually really nice packaging. It feels like a suede material, but it's just cardboard. And then it has a nice, good clasping magnet in it. And then if you look inside, you will see colors that look very, very similar to the Prism palette. So when I saw this online and I saw the swatches, I just needed to pick it up because I was really disappointed every time I see a look or I see that palette or whatever, even though it's a limited edition thing that's not available. Well, it wasn't available and now it is. But even though it was something I couldn't get my hands on, I still kept seeing it everywhere. I kept seeing looks, and it was just something that, one of those things that if I could have the chance, it was just one of those things that if I could ever have the chance to have it or have a dupe of it, is definitely something that I would consider purchasing. So I did purchase this. I will link the information from the seller that I purchased it from down below. You can find it from multiple sellers. The one that I purchased it from did sell it for $10.58 Canadian, and I ordered it on September 8th, and it took about 8 weeks to get to me. I got it the beginning of November, and I've used it a few times, and I can tell you I really, really like this palette. I have thoughts on it that I will share with you. I just wanted to give you some of the details on it to begin with. So like I said, the packaging is really nice. It's really soft. It does give all the ingredients on the back. It says it's a cruelty-free company, and it does have a 12-month expiry date on it. All in all, it is legit. It's a really nice feel to it. Like I said, the magnet in here is nice. It has, I don't want to blind anyone, but it has a really nice mirror in here. I mean, it's not super huge or anything, but it's not distorted or anything. It gives like a good nice reflection in it when you're looking in it. And the colors themselves are really good. I was pleasantly surprised with into the actual inside of this palette, which is why I bought it, not the outside in the packaging, although I am happy with how it looks and how it feels. Oh, it did come with a sleeve as well that matched this and was the same kind of suede cardboard material. I didn't keep it. I don't keep packaging like that around. But the inside and the colors are why I bought this. So I'm just going to go through these and share with you my thoughts on them. The first colors that I would compare would be Lucid and Famous, and they are the white kind of creamy colors. They do have like a gold reflect in them. They are very similar. I would say across the board, just to start out with, I would say across the board, the mattes are pretty dead on similar in the swatches to from one palette to the other. The only thing I would say would be that yellow color, which is Sphere in the Prism palette and Runaway in the Rhythm palette. I would say that by the looks of the swatches online, because I haven't compared them to each other like in person, but I would say online the swatch looks a lot more kind of buttery yellow for the Prism palette, whereas the Rhythm palette one looks a little bit more like a canary yellow. It has a little bit more of that brightness to it, whereas the ABH one looks a little bit more mellow. The other thing with the mattes is I would say that the shade Parallel to Trust Issues, it's a little bit deeper, comes off a little bit deeper and cooler looking on the Prism palette compared to the Rhythm palette, but again, not a significant difference, especially I think once you get them on the eyes, they'd be pretty similar. Otherwise, the mattes that are in the palettes look pretty identical. Now, moving on to the shimmers, the ones that seemed the most similar, I would say, would be Liquid to Famous, which is the white with the gold reflect in it. The shade Sphinx to Truffle Butter is very similar. The shade Eternal to Rehab is similar, and the shade Pyramid to California Love is very similar as well. Now, if we look at the kind of the attention grabbers in the palette, as I would call them, you have that purple shade, which is, I think it says Osiris, I can't really see it, the writing on it, but you have that shade Osiris, which is the purple shade to Heartless, and I would have to say that the ABH one looks much more purple. It has that more brilliance to it, whereas the one in the Rhythm palette is more of a matte with the purple sparkle in it. It's still pretty, and you could probably build it up to that kind of intensity, but it would probably take a lot. And again, it seems to have more matte with that shimmer in it, whereas the ABH one looks like it has it's an all-around sparkly glitter kind of one, if that makes sense. And then the same thing I would say for the shade Throne, that green one. So it's Throne in the Prism palette, and it's 5 on it for the Rhythm. Those ones, again, it's more of a matte with a sparkle in it to get that shift and that that glittery kind of look in it. I would say that, again, it's more of a matte in the Rhythm palette with the sparkle kind of put into it and infused, but you still get a similar look. It's just not as intense. And then if we look at that other one, the last kind of purpley light gray shade, Dimension in the Prism palette to Bougie in the Rhythm palette, I would say that the Prism palette comes off as a little bit more purple, whereas the Rhythm one comes off just a little bit more gray. It still has that purple hue to it, but it definitely is not as, doesn't have that lavender in it as much. It has more of a gray pull to it, I would say. Overall, I have to say that the shades are pretty similar. I mean, even though those three shades initially swatching aren't identical, it's still enough that I'm very happy with this palette and the shades that are in it. I do have that purple shade on now, the one that is similar to Dimension in the Prism palette. And I'm not sure if it's going to translate to camera or not, but it is very, I don't know, I like the look that I got. I like the color that it came out as. All the shades in my eyes are from this Rhythm palette, and they blended beautifully. I didn't have a problem with that at all. I will say I did have to use an eye primer in order to get the intensity that I have with it. It wasn't something that just went on effortlessly, and but with the eye primer, it really made a difference. I was kind of comparing them, swatching them with an eye primer and without an eye primer on my arm, and it just made a world of difference. Just an eye primer, not a glitter glue or anything like that, just a normal eye primer. That you see on my arm for the Rhythm palette, we're done with the Milani eyeshadow primer as a base, and then I just did finger swatches over top. And again, they swatched beautifully, they blend beautifully. I am really enjoying this palette. I have worn it a couple of times. I will show another picture here of one that I wore the other day. They wore well. I didn't have a problem with it fading or anything. I would have to say overall, they feel really good too. Sometimes, and not even just with ones from AliExpress, but other ones, whether it's from high-end companies or anything, I think there's certain things that are in it that aren't necessarily bad, but just irritate my eyes a little bit because they are a little bit sensitive, and I don't have that problem with this palette at all. It doesn't make my eyes tear up or anything like that. It's been really pleasant to use. So overall, I would have to say that this palette here is a win for me, from the formula and the way it wears to the colors and the swatches. Even the packaging on it is really nice. I am really happy with this palette. So if you did miss out on the Prism palette and you're not interested in getting that 4-pack that's coming out, I highly recommend checking this out. I will, like I said, leave the link from the seller that I got it from down below, but there were multiple sellers that were selling this particular product on AliExpress. If you have any questions about this particular palette, that maybe something that I didn't touch on that you were curious about, or if you're curious about any other products that they have that you would like me to check out, or just AliExpress in general, let me know in the comments below. I would love to help you out and answer your questions, or, you know, just find out what your thoughts are on it. Maybe you've tried different ones and you've had maybe similar experiences or different experiences. I would be really interested in hearing what those might have been. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I will talk to you again next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.